A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
I was Diddy's publicist for a couple of years, about 20 years ago, so 2003, 2004. I ended up doing his publicity for a couple of years.
Okay, got to end your Friday with the scoop. Sean Diddy Combs could be fighting for his life amid federal and sex trafficking crime charges. And it doesn't help that during all of this, his longtime publicist has quit him.
The most important thing, even more important than the passport, is that Mr. Combs came to New York on September 5th. As soon as we realized that this indictment was going to be coming down in a matter of weeks, maybe months, but sometime soon, Mr. Combs got on a plane, left his home in Florida, flew to New York. I called the prosecutors myself.
The situation is getting serious for Diddy. He's facing significant legal troubles, and things are not looking promising. His former publicist has labeled him a master manipulator, and now his current publicist has decided to step down. This raises questions about whether his lawyer will remain on board for much longer. Although his lawyer is currently backing him, it's hard to see how that support will hold if Diddy's situation continues to deteriorate. Recently, raids on Diddy's homes have led to alarming discoveries. His time behind bars isn't likely going well, especially since he's been denied bail twice. Even with substantial collateral like a $50 million mansion, he hasn't been able to secure his release.
To be released on bail. His attorney writing in a letter to the court Wednesday that Combs is eminently trustworthy and should be released on a $50 million bond. The rapper offering to secure the bond with his $48 million Miami home, and the bond would be co-signed with his mother, sister, 3 adult sons, and mothers of his 2 daughters. Combs was arrested Monday, and sources tell ABC News he has not been incarcerated with the general prison population. A judge denied him bail Tuesday after expressing concern that Diddy's alleged crimes occurred behind closed doors, with law enforcement unable to monitor his behavior.
Someone's presumed innocent, so you're presumed that you get bail. Not in this kind of crime. In this kind of crime, bail is not presumed. Furthermore, you've got the problem that he's accused of intimidating witnesses, of trying to interfere with the investigation. None of that helps him in his argument that he should get bail.
Combs pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. A 14-page indictment alleges Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male prostitutes called freak-offs.
Diddy's lawyer was understandably upset after putting in a lot of effort to secure his client's release. He emphasized how cooperative Diddy had been throughout the investigation, even mentioning that he flew to New York as soon as he learned of Diddy's impending arrest. However, judges don't seem convinced. They've labeled Diddy a potential threat to society, stating that he cannot be released because his victims are also afraid of him.
Fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot.
Outside the New York City courthouse, his lawyer defiant.
He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent. And we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
The judge ruling the bail package presented by Combs' lawyer was insufficient, siding with prosecutors, who called Combs a threat to society, adding there is no condition that would assure that the rapper would not obstruct justice.
Judges referenced a disturbing video from 2016 in which Diddy appeared to be violent toward his then-girlfriend, Cassie. The prosecutors argued strongly for him to remain in jail, especially after discovering that he had allegedly tried to reach out to one witness over 50 times in just 24 hours, which seemed like an effort to threaten or intimidate them.
Shows Combs brutally beating his then-girlfriend, singer Cassie, who prosecutors say was attempting to escape from one of Combs' so-called freak-offs, elaborated coerced sex parties that he often recorded. Combs' lawyer laying out his defense in court, arguing that the worst thing his client has done was on the videotape, adding that the two had loved each other, in which the judge responded, "What's love got to do with that?" calling the video disturbing.
Diddy's defense team was always the underdog in this bail argument, and that's because of the crime of human trafficking actually creates a presumption that the defendant should be detained.
In its bail proposal, Combs' legal team pointing out he surrendered his passport, voluntarily relocated to New York ahead of his arrest, is attempting to sell his plane, and hired private security to monitor Combs 24/7. However, prosecutors, who were adamant Combs remain in custody, pointed to what they describe as a massive amount of evidence, including text messages read in court from women accusing Combs of physical and sexual violence that went on for decades, and vast efforts to cover it up. adding witnesses universally share an extreme fear of the defense.
This followed several statements from Diddy's lawyer, who had been advocating for his release after the initial bail denial. The lawyer argued that Diddy's willingness to cooperate with the investigation should allow him to avoid staying in jail. Ironically, one of his main points has been about the uncomfortable conditions Diddy is facing while incarcerated.
In the special housing unit, which is a very difficult place to be. It's one of the things I'm going to take up with the judge today, that it's impossible to prepare for a trial from where he is. We respectfully disagreed with the ruling, and that's why we're bringing it to the district judge who's assigned to the case this afternoon.
He also suggested several times that the government has a grudge against Diddy, claiming that federal authorities were reluctant to allow the rapper to turn himself in. He argued that if Diddy had done so, they wouldn't be able to request detention. It's clear that the lawyer is trying to create a narrative aimed at garnering public sympathy for Diddy.
And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again, and we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore. I don't know. The question is, why did it happen last night instead of today? I don't know the answer to that question. I just want to make one point very clear. We have no power. All we can do is show good faith. He got on a plane and he came here. And if he stayed here for one day before the case started, or for 1 year before the case started, he was going to stay as long as he needed to stay. It ends up being only 12 days. That's fine. That's what the government wanted to do. The government didn't want him to turn himself in. He came here to turn himself in. Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest the guy who came to New York to turn himself in. But we are going to make all these points again tomorrow, and we'll make them as much as we can until we get him.
After Diddy's bail was denied, his lawyer reiterated that Diddy is a fighter. He argued that Diddy is currently being held in inhumane conditions and insisted that his client shouldn't have to endure such living circumstances.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and, I believe, inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility. And I'm going to do everything that I can to move his case as quickly as possible. I understand that the government has a great amount of electronic devices that they have to download and provide to me, but everything's on the government's timetable, nothing's on the defendant's timetable, and they're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushing for that. He's ready, he's focused. He has been ready to defend this case since he first found out about this case. Nothing has changed from his perspective. I obviously would much prefer to fight this case with him out of jail, and we are going to try to bring that about.
This statement came after it was revealed that the Metropolitan Detention Center, where Diddy is being held, is notorious for its violent environment. Notably, it's the same facility where R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell were also incarcerated.
Inside a facility that is being called hell on earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible place.
As a result of these concerns, Diddy's lawyer is seeking to have him transferred to a prison in New Jersey.
Past Essex County, New Jersey. It's a county facility, but it has a contract with the federal government, and you can get certain number of federal inmates in Essex County, New Jersey. And in my experience, it's an easier place to deal with. I think it's better for the person being housed there, and it's easier to get access, to him. I mean, one of the hardest things when you're preparing for a very significant trial with a great deal of discovery is you want your client to be able to have access to, the electronic discovery. Nothing nowadays is in paper form. Everything's electronic. So you need to make sure that your client has access to a computer.
Quite ironic that Diddy's lawyer is discussing the harsh conditions his client is facing, especially since he previously sent his former protege, Shine, to prison for 10 years without showing any remorse. Shine took the blame for the 1999 Club New York shooting, which involved both Jennifer Lopez and Diddy.
Before politician Moses Shine Barrow entered politics in his native Belize.
This is someone that destroyed my life.
He was a rapper who had a mentor named Sean Diddy Combs. But Barrow was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison.
I was defending him, and he turned around and called witnesses to testify against me, and he contributed. He pretty much sent me to prison.
Barrow was released in 2009 and deported to Belize. He insists that he never took part in any of Diddy's alleged freak-offs, parties where people were forced into sex acts with male prostitutes.
I had nothing to do with Sean Combs' personal life, no interaction. That level, everything was strictly on a professional level.
Shine clarified their relationship by stating that he was never involved in any inappropriate situations with Diddy. He emphasized that while he has forgiven Diddy, that doesn't mean they have a friendly personal relationship.
He pretty much sent me to prison. That is the context by which you must always describe their relationship. I forgave. I moved on. But let us not pretend as if I was in Miami for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Shine insinuated that he and Combs are not as close as some would think. Despite his forgiving heart, he made sure to set the record straight about their relationship. Quote, "So let us not lose sight of what the cold, hard facts are," Shine stated. "This is not someone who I vacationed with and who he and I enjoyed this great, intimate relationship of brotherhood. This is someone who destroyed my life and who I forgave and who I moved on." Over the years, Shine has worked with Diddy to bring resources to Belize, yet he clarified that their partnership was strictly business. Strictly business.
Some people have noted that Shine seemed to enjoy letting others believe he was friends with Diddy while he was in a position of power, but now he's quick to distance himself. Meanwhile, there are growing concerns that Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, might soon quit. Many former associates have negative opinions about him, including his ex-publicist, who described him as someone who manipulates narratives to serve his interests. This situation mirrors allegations made by Rodney Jones in his lawsuit against Diddy, where he claimed that Diddy studied the mannerisms of Pastor T.D. Jakes to appear humble and approachable. However, Diddy's ex-publicist did mention that although he worked for Diddy years ago and found the experience generally positive, he was still surprised by the recent allegations, admitting that he never saw Diddy as that type of person.
Diddy's publicist for a couple of years, about 20 years ago, so 2003, 2004. I ended up doing his publicity for a couple of years. He was a really instrumental person in my PR life. I'd never really represented a celebrity as big as that. I went on to represent other big stars, but he was sort of like my first. And in many ways, he taught me how to be a publicist. He knows how to manipulate a narrative. He knows how to tell a story. He knows how to be exciting, flashy. And so I've got to be honest here, my time with Diddy.
He also said that he was a very different person at the time, but he still loved being a celebrity.
Yeah, and I think this is backed up in the lawsuit when 20 years ago, Diddy seemed to be a much different man than he was just 10 years ago. So I did not see any of this behavior. Did I see him being treated like a king? Of course. Did I see him enjoying being a celebrity? Yes. Of all the big stars I've worked with, Diddy enjoyed being Diddy more than anybody else. He loved the spotlight. He loved people talking about.
Meanwhile, he also pointed out that his current publicist, Natalie Moore, seems to have also jumped ship. He also thinks his chief of staff, Christina Coram, will soon get dragged into the trial as
promoted to Diddy's chief of staff back in 2020, and she's very important to him. Combs has even written about her on social media. Meet Christina Coram, chief of staff at Combs Enterprises. Christina, aka KK, keeps everything in my life and my business running. She's been my right hand for the last 8 years and has consistently proven to execute and get S-word done. Don't know how I'd function without her. In another post, Diddy wrote, "Happy birthday to my ace Boon Coon, my right hand, my day-to-day manager that keeps my world twirling, and she's always got my back. She makes sure that I smile every day and I don't go into those dark places. Today is your day. It's your mother effing birthday. Go KK, it's your birthday. Love you, at Christina Quorum."
There are people around Diddy who have been there for decades. Recently, his longtime publicist, Natalie Moore, who's been there for 20 years, she appears as if she has quit. Her phone is no longer ringing. Her email has been discontinued. Also to his chief of staff, Kristen Karim, who has been with him for several years too. People have called her the Ghislaine Maxwell of this organization. That is nothing that anybody ever wants to be called. And so other people here are...
Diddy is on the hunt for a new crisis management team after his previous one, led by Natalie Moore, resigned. It seems he's having difficulty finding the right fit to help him navigate his current challenges.
Because she had been with him for over 2 decades. I know this woman quite well. And I gave her a call and a text on Thursday saying, hey, I've got a story here that Diddy has been looking for a crisis management PR team since over 6 months. Since last year, almost right after the Cassie allegations were settled. And she didn't get back to me. The next thing you know, she announces she has quit. So here's the deal. One of the reasons she quit, I am sure, is that A, what is she going to do in this situation?
Yeah,
but
it's
B,
a hard thing to fix.
100%, but also the crisis management PR people that he has been reaching out to charge at minimum $30,000 a month, nowhere near what he was paying his longtime PR person. So it's a little bit of like, hey, thanks for nothing.
Yeah. Also, Paula, we've all been talking about this.
For the moment, Diddy's lawyer remains by his side. After the news broke that Diddy has been placed on suicide watch, the lawyer released a statement assuring everyone that his client is doing just fine.
Source tells NBC News that the decision to put the music producer on suicide watch is routine, calling it, quote, procedural with high-profile clients. Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnafilo, also tells TMZ that after spending hours with the Bad Boy Entertainment founder in federal lockup, he viewed his client as, quote, not at all suicidal, calling him, quote, strong, healthy, confident, and focused on his defense.
Big question is, how long will Diddy's lawyer continue to support him? If Diddy seems to be struggling, will the lawyer stick around, or will the troubled mogul need to find new legal representation as well? Only time will tell. That's all for now. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. For more updates, don't forget to hit the